Welcome, welcome. How's it going? Doing stuff. All right. Hey now. Ooh wee. Stuffs to do, stuffs to do. How's it going? How's your day going? My little muscles hurt. I had to carry a kid yesterday. These little piddly muscles. They ain't worth nothing. I didn't even carry him that long. So today is Wednesday. Oh, then why do I have Tuesday up there? You show right. You right. And when you right, you right. And I don't have nothing to say. Hold on. I was on the back end fighting for my life because I couldn't get it to start, and I don't know. It just kept saying downloading, and I was like, I've been sitting here, like I literally have been in this seat for at least 40 minutes, like at least 40 minutes. I've been sitting here, so. But I didn't open this because I didn't need that at the time. But now look at me, late. Trying to figure it out. Okay. So it's Wednesday, which means it is our Ask Coach Catasha Day. So what is Ask Coach Catasha? Ask Coach Catasha is your opportunity to ask a certified sexuality educator any questions that you may have surrounding love, sex, relationships, whatever. And I will answer those questions for you live, and I will answer them honestly and without judgment and without shame. So that's what we're here for today. We actually got some good questions in the chat. I mean, we got some people sent me a couple questions, so I do have some of those. But you are also invited during any time during this program to leave your questions in the chat, and we will answer those questions as well. Now, let's talk about how to do this without getting us blocked. Because, well, first of all, I'll be back, so it's not to get you blocked, okay? Because they gonna let me back. I got my parameters. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm not supposed to do. Okay, they might get me, but it's very likely that I'm going to be back. I cannot vouch for that. So let's talk about how we do this to make sure that we can stay on the positive side of this conversation, okay? So, number one, some programs, depending on where you're watching this at, already have like a built-in moderator system, and that system automatically flags certain keywords, certain words that you may type, and I don't see those words. I don't see the message. It flags it. I don't know where it puts it, but it is not available to me, so I don't see that. So if you have a spicy word in your question, okay? And I don't know which ones are the spicy, like what's the word they care about. Stuff gets through, but some stuff doesn't, and I don't know the difference in what should and shouldn't be here or what they're blocking. But if you just leave that word out, I'm pretty good at using my context clues, and I can make it work. I'll figure it out, I promise. If you don't see me answering the question, it's likely that it didn't make it. So just ask it again in a way that the system will allow you to ask. Okay. Number two, you're not always going to have the language for the question that you have. And so I'm opening up this space as a grace space to allow you to use the language that you know, and then we can update it on the back end. Okay. So if you are using language that has now been deemed harmful or anything like that, um, we can update that as we're talking about it. But I would rather you ask the question and we fix that on this end versus you not asking the question at all. So if you don't know how to ask it, just ask it however you know how to ask it, and I won't assume that you're trying to be rude or anything like that. I'm just going to assume that you don't have the language for the question that you're asking. So make sure that you're asking your questions. This is not a space that is that you will find readily available. So if you're going to be here, like, make sure you're using it. You can ask me whatever you want. I don't get shy. I'm not any of that. Like, you can ask me whatever you want to ask me. If you don't want to ask me, or if you are shy and don't want your question attached to your username, you can email me at expressionofrepression@gmail.com, which is also my website, expressionofrepression.com. And I guess I need to see if, let me see if we have other questions. Um, because sometimes the things don't always come into my just making sure it didn't go into my junk mail or anything. It doesn't look like it is anything in there. Ooh, this looks like this needs to come out of there. Um, we'll just put it in there. That's not where it goes, but that's where we put it. Okay, so let me see. I don't see anything. I did check it, but I'm just going back and taking another look to be sure that I didn't miss any questions. I did grab a couple. So let's see what are some of the questions that we have. Our first question for today. Okay, let me copy it. The question is, I'm 27 and I do not want to have kids. I have never wanted kids, but no doctor will grant me a hysterectomy because what if your husband wants one in the future? Eye roll emoji. What can I say to convince them that I really don't want kids? So, this is a really good question. So historically, this has been a fight of people who were trying to get some reproductive care, different types of reproductive care in the past. It's always been something, but it is definitely less likely to get a hysterectomy if you don't already have kids. I don't know why. It's so crazy that someone could have kids and not want them, and no one ever knows, but or cares. No one cares that you that you had kids and you didn't want them. But people are super, super intertwined with the idea of you needing to be a mother or a father to be a person. Many people hook their personhood with their ability to be able to procreate. I don't know if they always do that on purpose, but it is definitely something that I noticed as also someone who doesn't have any biological children. I definitely have top five best stepkids in the world. Yeah, I said what I said. Um, but I do not, I never, I also, so I can't say that I never wanted kids. I've always said that it wasn't that important to me. If my husband wanted one, then we would have children if that's what he wanted. Um, later on down in life, but I always wanted to be married before I had a child so that I can make it real hard for you to be a baby daddy if you want to be a baby daddy. So I was always going to be married first. But I didn't get married until I was 38 years old, or I didn't meet my husband until I was 38 years old. And so I didn't, um, there were many opportunities to do that I just wasn't willing to take. I didn't want to do it. And then when I did meet him, by that time I was like, I mean, we could, or we could go kick it. And so he was like, well, if you cool with it, I'm cool with it. And I was like, I'm cool with it. And so, being the oldest daughter, I've been raising kids my whole life. I've been changing diapers. I've been carrying kids on my hip. I've been pushing them in strollers. I've been packing them. I'm changing diapers, making bottles. I've been doing all that all my life. I'm cool. I'm cool. And so I know that feeling of, not wanting to be heard. For many years, I joked about, just take it out. I wasn't going to use it regardless. But, they always told me as well, like, you don't never know. Your husband might want kids. You never know for the future and blah, 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 whatever. So, it did have an effect on the types of relationships I was able to maintain because, sometimes there were men who did want kids or did not want kids and I wasn't sure and I was on the fence, and so I never made commitments to those individuals. And so, I mean, it is a big choice, but I feel like I still made the correct decision. Like I'm living my best life right now. I need more money. And so if I had a kid, I would have less money. That is the wrong direction. Okay. You are not moving in the way that I want you to move if we're talking about me having less money. Yeah, no. So I get that. Some of the things, okay, so I did hear that there was a list that someone compiled on TikTok. Because I cannot vouch for or I don't know any of those doctors, I'm going to have you go do that research on your own. I don't know them people. I don't want you saying, oh, I went to where she told me to. Nope. So I heard there was a list, but there's conversations that you can have, especially if you run into something in the future. So if you go to the doctor and they are telling you that they won't do that, make sure that they are documenting that they won't do it and the reasons that they were giving you that they didn't want to do it. And if the reason that they told you was because what if your husband wants children in the future, make them document that you are denying this procedure based on the grounds that my husband might want children in the future. Why is that important? Because if something happens to you, it makes it a lot easier to hold someone accountable for not listening to you. Trust me. So if you are not getting any type of care that you are asking for when you go to your primary care physician or anything, make sure they're documenting that they are refusing the care and make sure that they're documenting the reason that they gave you that they were refusing the care. Okay. Don't let them just say refusing care, patient is too young or, whatever. If they tell you that it's because they want your husband might want it in the future, make them write that down. Make them put it in your file. Because again, if something happens to you, say you do get pregnant and it's a high risk pregnancy and, you pass out and you lose all of your organs. I told you before, we probably would have caught this if you would have went in there and checked when I asked you to check, or if you would have went in and did some research or took me seriously when I was talking about what I had going on or the type of pain. It's so much easier to hold someone accountable if you have a physical record of them denying you any type of care. So is that going to make them give you the hysterectomy? No, it's not. But that it will at least be documented that you attempted it and they denied it and that they told you that you couldn't have it. Um, I also think that it's just important to highlight that, what you're saying is that my bodily autonomy is up to someone that I don't even know yet. That the decisions that are being made about my body are being made between me, you, and an invisible person that I have not met. Is I want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, and just lay that out for them. Also, you can just remind them that, now, I don't know what the specific reason. I don't know if you want the hysterectomy just because you don't want to have kids, but there are a lot of things that you can do to not have children that does not require you to have hysterectomy. So, if that's the reason, like you're afraid of becoming pregnant, hysterectomy is one of the birth control forms that you can use to stop from getting pregnant, but it is not the only one. It's not the only one. And so, if it now it is the easiest as far as what you would have to do, and even that part of it, even that part of the conversation is subjective, because a hysterectomy is considered a major surgery. It is considered a major invasive surgery, and you're talking about sometimes up to 6 months for it to heal, for you to heal. And that is still just the healing. There's a whole other learning curve in figuring out the new body and all those things. And so it is, the hysterectomy, it can be easy as far as once you get through with that initial process. But some people also had a very difficult procedure and a very difficult recovery when it comes to hysterectomy. So, but again, there are other things that you can do. You can always use other birth control options. You can use non-hormonal birth control options. You can stack your birth control options, so you can use birth control and use another barrier method or another type of contraceptive method. There are definitely other options to use to ensure that you don't bring a life into this world if you do not want to do that. So, if you are requesting a hysterectomy because of heavy periods or pain or any of those other types of things, they absolutely have to address those issues, and you are paying them as your insurance providers, paying them to take care of you and take care of your body. And so it is very difficult to have to advocate for yourself, but you will have to do that. And there are going to be cases, and there are going to be times, and it's going to be way many more times than I would like to tell you that it is, but it is, that you are going to have to advocate for yourself, advocate for your safety, advocate for your health, because it takes from 7 to 10 years for endometriosis to be diagnosed. And that's just because it shares a lot of the same symptoms with other conditions and diseases and infections. And so it's very difficult to get that diagnosis already. So, it's important that you stand in the gap for yourself and for your uterus, especially um, if you are having a very difficult cycle, you're experiencing pain, you're experiencing incontinence and other types of things that could be causing you to have a lower quality of life. That is a cause, a trigger for treatment. So go back. I know that is not what you want to hear. But go back to your primary care physician or your OBGYN and just make them document and hold on to. And also, there are some physicians who have joined in breaking that as a barrier. They are no longer using future invisible partners as a barrier for why you would need to have a hysterectomy. If you do not want to have kids, they are performing the procedure outright just because you're asking for it. So do a little bit of research. Again, you are going to need an access to resources, which is, the fight that we're constantly in as, healthcare workers, is making sure that the resources are available to everybody and not just the people with money. And so it's just hard to to make sure that you're getting the care that you need, because it's reserved for people who have money. Anyway, so but yeah, dude, I hope that you are able to find someone to give you that hysterectomy. If that is what you want, you deserve to have have access to the type of birth control that you want. Okay, I saw a video today that I'm gonna add to my um, social media where um, a TikToker said that if you are on birth control, you're not Republican, you're actually pro choice. Pro life, you're actually pro choice. Because if you're taking birth control, then you understand the option of not being able to have or not wanting to have children. Them linking that to just the most important thing that's ever going to happen to you is not a medical phenomenon, it's a social phenomenon. We have, even just the conversation now when you talk about, oh, why don't you want to have kids? Why would you blah, blah, blah? There are so many valuable women who are walking around who cannot conceive, whose bodies cannot make a baby, cannot carry a baby full term, who have tried and tried and tried. And we make these baseless claims about womanhood, attaching it to bearing children when there are people who physically cannot. Are those people less than? Is someone who cannot have children worse or less than someone who can? No, they are not. And we know that. But when we have these conversations, we're so quick to bash people who don't want to have children that we're attacking people who are not having kids without realizing that there are some people who cannot have kids. And that when you base your value as a woman on if you're able to be a mother or if you're able to procreate, then you diminish the value of so many people who wanted with everything inside of them to be a mother and cannot. They just physically cannot. And also, 1 in 6 pregnancies ends up in a miscarriage anyway. 1 in 6 pregnancies overall. And they believe that that number is low because the body doesn't even recognize you're pregnant. You don't even know that you're pregnant in most of the cases of miscarriage. You wouldn't even know. So, it's we place a lot of value. And again, mothers are valuable. Mothers are absolutely valuable. People who bear children and bring children into this world, you are valuable, you are brave, you are the moment, okay? I do not want to diminish parenthood in any way. But I do not believe that parents are inherently more virtuous or more, I don't know, that a hierarchy is built around parents that is exclusive to just parents. You just because you have had children does not make you an exceptional adult, okay? So it's some of the societal stipulations that we have built around humanity, and being able to view and see things in a light um that removes some of those social instigators, social instigators. And so you not wanting to have kids it's just as an important of decision of, who you're going to marry, where you're going to live, where you're going to work, what tattoo you're going to get. It is just an important decision, and you have the right to make it or not to make it if that's what you want to do. So don't let people bully you into thinking that, and even if you change your mind in the future, there are plenty of people. It is more difficult, but so what? Everything is difficult. It's difficult for people who have not had a hysterectomy. But if you wanted to be a parent after that, there's multiple avenues that you can take if you change your mind about parenthood. Okay, so a hysterectomy is not the end all be all, but if you know you don't want kids, you should be able to have access to the care that makes that happen. And the current climate that we're in is going to make that very difficult because they want more bodies to work in the, the hamster wheel. They need more people pumping in the hamster wheel, separating the nuts. So they're not asking you to have kids. They're not creating an environment that makes it more conducive to having healthy families. They're not doing any of that. They're literally just taking away your reproductive care and hoping that you get pregnant and that you are so stressed and you can't function and that your child can't grow, can't become anything. They don't want them getting access to education, and they're gonna throw them in the hamster wheel and throw them in a pile of nuts and tell them to get to sorting. So good luck. You don't have to be swayed. Take it from the expert. You don't have to be swayed. If you don't want children, you don't have to have them. And again, you not being a mother does not mean that you will not be important to children. Those two things are not on the same plane. You can be important to so many children and never have to, you know, push nothing out. You There are so many kids in our communities that you can be a resource for, that you can piece yourself out for, that doesn't take a 24-hour commitment, that you can stand in the gap for a lot of kids. And so that doesn't you not having a child does not mean that you will not be important to children. Only you can control that. So good luck. I'm having the time of my life. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Okay? I'm not even gonna lie to you. All right, all right. Next question. Okay, this one, I guess I'll give a little bit of a trigger warning. I changed some of the language so, we wouldn't get in trouble because I don't want that. Hey, sugar muffins. I changed some of the language so we wouldn't get in trouble. Okay. All right, all right. User question. I had an orgasm and nothing came out. Am I okay, or do I need to make an appointment? So I did giggle when I got this question. I can imagine how crazy that would be to what do you do for how do you know what do you so it is absolutely normal for you to, I call it blowing dust. It's absolutely normal to blow dust, especially if you've just used up all of everything you have. You had a particularly long session, or you on round 3 or round 4, you may have used up all of your stored your stored stuffs. So yes, it's actually a process. You can do that on purpose if you want to, actually. uh, but what essentially happens, even if it's not gone, if you have more. But so let's talk about what ejaculation is, and then we'll talk about what happened. Okay. So essentially, your sperm is made in your testes. Okay. And that sperm is made in the testes, but it matures in the, I can do this, it matures in the epididymis. It travels to the epididymis, and it picks up everything else it needs. It has fluid, it has all these other things, and then it goes up to that epididymis and goes into your urethra, okay, to release out of your body as ejaculation, okay? But if you have a penis, your urethra is also a part of your reproductive system, okay? It is not if you have a vagina, but if you have a penis, your urethra, because it is the pathway of your ejaculation, but it's also the pathway of your pee, getting the pee out of your body, your excrement. it can be used either way. So essentially what happens is it will travel up, brings all the juice and everything it needs with it, because only a small portion of your ejaculate is actually sperm. It has a lot of other things inside of it just to give the sperm motility, which is movement and all types of things. But it comes out of the body, it comes out of the urethra and exits the body, okay? Because the urethra is also a part of the reproductive system, it is attached to the bladder. Okay, so because you can pee out of it and you can also ejaculate out of it, there is a pathway from the epididymis that comes on up that can go into the bladder instead of exiting the body. Okay, so this process, the original process is called ejaculation. This process is called injaculation, which means it inside of the body. And so essentially what happens is the ejaculate goes back into the bladder and it is reabsorbed back into the body. And there are people who train to do this on purpose, okay? Because if you, okay, let me pull it back up. So here is our sexual arousal process, okay? So we have desire, arousal, and plateau, which is the part right before the orgasm. We hit the orgasm and then we go to the resolution or the reduction, which is when the body goes back to normal. This is what sex looks like. And a part of that is once you have the orgasm, you have the ejaculation, the body starts returning to its original state, the state that it was before it desired sex. So the heart rate comes back down, the temperature settles out, the blood goes back where it needs to go, all the things happen, right? If you are practicing ejaculation, when you have that orgasm, because the orgasm and the ejaculation are separate spaces, are two separate things, and the orgasm actually happens in your mind, the ejaculation is absorbed back into the body, and because you did not ejaculate, you do not reach the resolution. So you don't go down, you don't go down, and I hope you know what I mean. If your body experiences this type of orgasm, so to get the resolution, or for the penis to go back flaccid, for all the blood to leave, and for, usually if you want to do multiple sessions, you have to go knock the first one off, go through the resolution, go through the reduction, and then build it back up, start the process all over again. Well, during ejaculation, you don't have to start the process all over again, because it doesn't change if you do not ejaculate. The blood still stays inside of the membrane, and you still feel the orgasm because the orgasm happens in your mind, but the actual ejaculation goes back into the body and the penis stays firm, even though you technically did have an orgasm. So it's how someone with a penis could practice multiple orgasms, by using ejaculation as a process. So it is something that people have practiced. It is a part of Western tantric teachings. It has existed for a very long time. It's a tool if you have it. Many people also express a type of euphoria, like you feel connected with yourself. It's a lot of other things that come along with this process, because it is more of a body control, but a body training. It's like when you learn how to deadlift. If you can, something happens, and you can deadlift 300 pounds. Okay, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. So you have it's a big deal. It's a big deal to be able to do it, even if you are well versed in sexual activity. To There are a lot of other benefits that people tout to that come along with practicing this. So um, it is something that can happen. It is normal for it to happen. It should not happen. It should not happen every time. Okay. So there is no uh, schedule per se that says that, you need to um this many times versus this many times on ejaculation versus ejaculation. But what I will say is that it is important for your prostate and for the pathways, for your urethra, for your epididymis, for your testes, for all of those things, for your cremaster muscle, all of those things to be used regularly. Okay, it's important. It's important to reduce the risk of prostate cancer. I do that all the time. I'm sorry. To reduce the risk of prostate cancer, it is not a time for a celebration. Talking about prostate cancer. Um, but it is important that you are using the system as well. So even if you are practicing ejaculation on a regular basis, it is also important that you are practicing ejaculation as well, so that you can keep your systems clear and keep the body in its homeostasis. And again, there's a lot of research on how important it is for orgasms, like per day, depending on type of body you have, like not per day, but how often you should be having orgasms, different systems that the body uses to keep the body to code and all those different types of things. So you have the you do have the ability to do that, and you absolutely have the ability to train yourself to do it as well. So and let me type so you can Google it if you want to. I'm sure I spelled that right. It's not acting like I did though. Okay. That is what it's called. It's called ejaculation. So no, you don't need to make an appointment with your doctor. But if it becomes a regular thing, or if you start noticing, you feel backed up, or tenderness, or other types of changes, you may need to see someone, because it maybe that's not what's happening. Okay. um and you know what, let's hold on, because I haven't looked this up. I know that that's the answer, but there may be some more research. Oh, they call it retrograde ejaculation, or dry orgasm. Okay, so yes, that is let me put that in here. I feel like if I type that, that's gonna get me blocked. I'm not gonna put that in there. Sorry. I feel like it's gonna get me. So just it was retrograde ejaculation. That it's also called. So absolutely look for some resources on it. It is something that can happen, but also if it's something that is bothering you or feels like something you'd be worried about, like there's some other details that I don't have, definitely contact your physician and let them know what's going on. Should be a pretty easy fix. They have that stuff mapped out and ready to go. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to hop in the chat if you want. Um, you have you can drop your questions and I can see them live. You can whatever you need to do to. Ooh, let me share this so people can see. Um, Ed Nettie. Wow, that was random. Super random. So yes, that is a normal thing. Good luck. You might have learned something about yourself. It is important, not important, but it is to be able to experience multiple orgasms. There are some people who experience multiple orgasms without practicing retrograde ejaculation, but most penis holders who do practice retrograde ejaculation usually oh, hold on. Yeah. Okay, yeah, usually they're doing it on purpose. Okay. Next question. Oh, let me hear viewer questions. That's what I was asking. You can drop your questions in the chat if you want. If you want to send me any questions, you can send them to expressionofrepression@gmail.com, or you can send them to any of my social media inboxes if you don't want your question attached to your name, which I completely get. You don't want nobody in your business. I get that. But I am here to answer your sexual health questions, so lay them on me if you got them. Okay, our next user question. Oh no, that's the same one. Hold on. I didn't copy it. Ooh. Okay. So next user question says, "Uh-oh. Oh, it blocked it. So I don't know which word. Ooh, I'm going to take this word out and see if that's the word that's stopping it. Okay, let's see if that's what it was, if that was the word. Nope, that ain't it. I don't know. Okay, I'll just read it. I don't know which one of the somethings. There's something in there that it won't let me post. It says my partner has introduced me to some new things, and I'm having a great time exploring with her. She has expressed an interest in. Okay, so the original word was bondage, but she wants to tie me up. I don't know why, but this is terrifying to me. I have never been tied up, so I'm unsure where this fear stems from, but I do know it makes me anxious just thinking about it. Has anyone else had this happen, or am I weird? Okay, so of course you're not weird. But yes, it's also just, I mean, to getting tied up is super vulnerable. Like you would be super vulnerable. So why wouldn't you be afraid of that even if you've never had that happen? Like just being tied up somewhere where you can't move your hands, you can't move your feet, they might go through your wallet, you might pee in your boots. You never know. So I completely get being terrified of it. So here's my suggestions, okay? And I have a couple. First off, we need to know how she you said that she's interested in this. Has she ever done it before? Has there been any research done on it? Is this Are you experimenting? Are you both experimenting? Is it something that you're going on a journey on together? So there are some questions that we need to know, but all of those questions stem around the idea of how much knowledge do we have? You know, how much do we know about the subject that we're trying to introduce? Okay? Now, as far as you, the being tied up doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be completely restrained. Okay? It can just be one foot, it could be one arm, it could be a hand, it could be a finger. It doesn't have to be full, restraint, no access. It does not have to be that way. If you are worried or you are a little, you feel a little funky about being restrained, it's best to start with something light. So maybe don't start with rope. You can start with some long socks. You can start with stockings. You can start with like an old tie. You can start with a bonnet if you want to. Anything that's long and has some give to it can feel a lot less intimidating than like handcuffs and rope and stuff like that. Okay. So if you are interested in it, that's a good place to start, is with some household items or something that doesn't feel as intimidating as, some of the other options. If the goal is to get to those other options, it may be a process of you having to work your way up, right? So we might start with one hand on the headboard, tied to the headboard, and everything else is free, right? Or just like opposite arm, opposite leg. You can role play where the arm is or leg is not actually tied up, but you can't move it and you have to pretend as if it's tied up. So if say you're doing a role play and you're supposed to have broken your leg, okay? If you're supposed to have broken your leg, then, obviously you're not going to be whipping that leg around. So it's a good way to practice restraint without actually being restrained, if you get what I'm saying, okay? And so if you can work your way up to that, that's fine. Also, I don't know what where that fear stems from, but it being terrifying to you is, that may be something that you might want to talk to somebody about. Not, that there's anything wrong with you, but it may be coming from something else that you got going on that you don't know that is linking those two feelings together, right? So it may not necessarily be that you've never been tied up, but maybe you've never felt safe. Or maybe you were put in a closet one time or locked in a closet one time, and small spaces, or all those things. It could be a plethora of things, if you see what I'm saying. So just give yourself some grace. But if you feel like this fear is like an irrational type fear, or there is a rational amount of fear that should be used with bondage. Okay, absolutely, there's an irrational amount of fear. A rational amount of fear, but there's also an irrational amount of fear. Okay, and so if you feel like the fear that you feel is irrational, you may want to talk to someone to get to the bottom of like where that's coming from. What else? You can always study, and you can both study together. If sometimes you need to be a little more a part of the process to feel safe enough to participate. If you are that type of person, and you know that I need a little more information, I need to know the rundown, I need to know exactly what we're doing, what kind of rope we're using, how it's going to be tied up, where we're going to be at, whereas I need to know all of that. It can be more comforting if you can sit down and come up with a plan together, and you can do some research together on the type of bondage that we're talking about. Like, are we talking about like, Hishikarada, which is just like a rope dress, or are we talking about like full shibari, where you can't move, or like, what are we talking about? And so it's better if you have an idea of what is going on, if you can work and be a part of the planning process. Okay. Next thing, is there is going to be some safety measures that are going to need to be in place. Safety measure number one is there's going to need to be some type of scissors that are available nearby and very handy to get to. Okay, that the type of scissors that you're going to need, you can use whatever type of scissors you want. But if I have to make a suggestion, I am going to suggest that you get a pair of EMT shears. Emergency medical transport. Is that what the T mean? EMT shears. And those shears are meant to cut through whatever needs to be cut through. Okay. Now you won't be able to use those a bunch. I think they're only good for like 10 or 11 times, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But if you shouldn't need them that often, and if you do need to get out of something quickly, if you set yourself up, if you made it too tight and it's cutting off circulation, we're worried about nerve damage, if the person has had a panic attack or whatever could happen, those EMT shears are going to get through whatever you're tied up with ease. And that is what we need. That's what we want to go for. We want to make sure that we can get out when we need to get out, and that it ain't no extra questions about it. Okay. Also, you're going to need a safety word. You're going to need a safety word. The safety word is a word that you're going to use to help you snap out of the scene in case you and your partner get a little too engrossed and then something comes up, right? If you start feeling something, or you're losing feeling somewhere, if you are, feeling like you're on edge or you're about to pass out or any of that stuff, it is important to make sure that you are keeping the lines of communication open with your partner. A safe word doesn't necessarily have to be a word. Sometimes people play with sound play, and so you may be gagged, it may be loud, there may be obstacles to stop you from physically being able to say, Chadwick or whatever the safe word is. But there are other things that you can use. You can use blinking. You can use touch. So the top can put the finger in there. If you squeeze, you're good. If you don't squeeze, you're coming down. Things like that. So there are, you can use taps. You can use hums. You can use grunts. If that's what you need. Whatever you need to do, just make sure that you have a system in place, just in case. You never know, but just in case it gets too sticky for you or something feels weird, that you have a safe word in place. Okay, it's just good to have. And the safe word needs to be a word that you don't regularly use, so it can't be stop. It can't be Nathaniel, or it needs to be a word that's meant to jolt you out of a scene. Think of it as if a word was inserted into a sentence that you knew didn't belong there. So if somebody was talking about wedding dresses and you heard the word taco, you are going to be like, wait a minute, why are we, that's what you're going to need. That's what your word is going to do, is it's going to pull you out of that scene and bring you in like, wait a minute. And then, you can address whatever's going on. But if you do trust your partner and you have been having fun so far, that means that, they've taken you on a journey that you have, you liked some of it. You were there. So if that's the case, then, it should be an easy transition to get you from being terrified to being more open, but it can be a slow process. So, give yourself some grace if you need to. And hopefully your partner will also share in extending that grace to you, so that you can have some more fun. So that you can have some more fun. And also, like, if it's something that you want to try, you can also do self tying up, where you can, tie up one leg or tie up one arm. Of course, you don't tie up everything, because then how you going to get out? But just to kind of give yourself, and contrary to popular belief, just even having one of your arms restrained is also like adds that anxiousness, that extra eroticism to the scene. Even if you're just taking one limb and taking the access of that limb away, it can have a big impact on the intimacy that you're currently experiencing. So even just doing that, like if you did for self play and you wanted to tie one of your hands up for self play, it's a great tool to use to, help you to find your way to the other side. So yeah, I mean it's totally, of course, like I said, you're not weird. It's totally normal to be afraid of being restrained. That's the it's you all right. So, but yeah, like get in there, have fun. Just both of you together, just work on it, work at it, and make sure you're keeping your conversations, your consent conversations open on, what we want to do and what we don't want to do, the things that, could trigger certain types of activity. Just keeping that conversation open. All right. All right. What else? Y'all don't have no questions? Why everybody be acting shy? Y'all be in my inbox blowing me up and then get live and be like, I don't know, I don't want to ask, I don't want to talk, I don't want to. Okay, okay, okay. Ew. Okay, okay. Let's see. Okay. 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 Next question. Can privates be musty? Maybe yes, they can. Absolutely, they can. They can be musty, and musty is a it's a distinct odor, right? So, any what makes your armpits musty is the bacteria that you have under your armpits, mixed with the sweat and hair follicles, and all the things that are coming out of the body, right? All of those same things, you could literally take your armpit and put it on your vulva. It does not have the same like vac microbiome. It doesn't have the same microbiome, but it does have everything else. It has the hair, it has the hotness, it has the wetness, it has sweat. So all the pieces to be musty. Absolutely, it absolutely can. Yep, yep. So, what are some things you can do to stop it from being musty? Okay, so keep your area dry, um, and free of other bacterias. You want to make sure that you're clean. Wash your body with soap and water. Use a towel because you're washing in your hair and washing, scrubbing out your pores and all those things. So you're exfoliating as well as washing. So use a wash rag. Um, You can use a talc-free baby powder. They have like cornstarch baby powders you can use to help control moisture down there. Having hair. Um, yeah, it is Friday. Sir, my best friend just remember that she's supposed to be cooking this Friday. And you are. And I'm hungry right now. So I'm hungry right now. I'm glad you remember today. Because I also invited April. So hope you're ready, girl. So, yeah. Your privates can absolutely be musty if you do not take care of them, if you do not do the proper cleaning. Um, you will have some funk, some musk coming from under there. Somebody must have said that. That was such a random, I mean, not a random question, but just like I wasn't expecting to open the message and see that. Can privates be musty? That is hilarious to me. Okay, okay. All right. I am tired too. Let me see. All right, all right. Sha da 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 da. Sometimes people be privates be musty in the winter. That's they be under all them clothes and stuff though. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-mm. Oh my God. Don't be. Nope, nope, nope. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So, what do we have? Let's look at the schedule for the rest of the week. Where is it? Whew. All right. So today is. Ooh, I am big tired too. Today is late night with coach. I mean, late night. Today is Wednesday, which is Ask Coach Catasha. Tomorrow is going to be Sex Tech Thursday, where we're going to be talking about ecosexuality, where we talk about the blend of sex and nature. So make sure you're tuned in tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You will need to be in the building for that conversation for sure. And then Friday we will be doing late night with Coach Katasha, where we'll be just doing a late night chat, sex, love, and relationships. Just a little, we just check in, seeing how you doing, seeing what's going on. Making sure you're good. Y'all come in because y'all gotta tell me that's where y'all keep me up on everything that's going on because I don't be knowing. Come in and tell me all the stuff that's happening so I can feel like I know the tea too because I don't I don't be knowing nothing. Just be blindsided by everything. Like who got herpes? I don't know nothing. So, um, stop by on Friday. That's gonna be at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be checking in, hanging out. You can find these programs on programs. Wow. Wow. You can find this stream. Programs is hilarious. I'm gonna call grandma today. Um, you can find the stream on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. You can type Coach Katasha in the search bar of any of those um, any of those, and you will find me. If you want to send me questions to any of my social media, and you can click the link, click my link tree, and whatever social media that you choose, you can find me there from that link. And if you want to send it to Instagram, Facebook, whatever, uh, you're good. You can do that. All right. All right. Oh, let's see. What else do we have for the day? That I'm probably gonna laugh about. Can privates be musty for a second? Just cause, um, again, it was just a good random one liner for me. That was good to me. um, I appreciate everybody who submitted questions. Thank you for trusting me and for having some good questions. You got some good stuff in there. If you want to submit questions for next week, you can send them to expressionofrepression@gmail.com, or you can send them to any of my social media sites, or you can show up next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time and you can ask me your questions live. I will be in here delivering the tea. But I'm also here to just help you get through whatever you need help getting through. Okay? All right. If we don't have any extra questions, let's go ahead and wrap it up for today. I appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you come by tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for Sex Tech